welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared, and it's review time once again. And I've let things stack up, so I've got 4 books to go over today. And so let's get right into it. The first book I'm going to talk about today is Shadow of Hyperion by JCM Berne. And in case you have read this book already, I had a full spoiler discussion with it on my channel with Philip Chase from Dr. Fantasy, or from Philip Chase, the best of fantasy, and also with the author himself, Joe Byrne, was on my channel, and so we had a blast talking about Shadow of Hyperion because it's a really cool book. I really love the things that Joe Byrne did with this book. I like how he plays with the mythology and the mythology of superheroes in particular, and that's really interesting to me because so many superhero comics and stuff throw gods into their stories, but they don't really give a really cohesive reasoning behind that decision. And over the years people have made all kinds of reasons and excuses and tried to lump all that stuff together, magic and science and what have you, and but it always felt after the fact, whereas I think in this case with Shadow of Hyperion, it's built into what Joe has created here, and that is very key because it all just fits seamlessly, and it all has a really cool cohesiveness to it that many ongoing comic book superhero universes kind of lack, as they either piece things together secondhand or destroy the universe and start over. But so anyways, Shadow of Hyperion, not only does Joe explore that stuff, but he also, of course, continues the story of Rohan, and a very fascinating character who continues to grow and develop and give us new insights into his world, his character, what he's faced with, and we also start to get some bigger picture elements coming into the greater story of 4 novels into a book, and that's always something that if the story is not growing, if the mysteries aren't being slowly revealed, you can get mired down in insignificant details, or you can give away too much and just have everything that comes after be not as significant as it should be. So Joe is doing a great job balancing those things, giving the reader the tantalizing information that we crave as readers, and but leaving so much room for even more growth of this character, of this universe, of this setting, and it's fun. I'm having a blast reading these, and can't wait to get to the next one. So that was Shadow of Hyperion. Next up, I have the Augur's Gambit by Stephen Donaldson. This was marketed as a part of a 2 novella collection back in 2015, and so it was put into the collection called The King's Justice, with the other story called The King's Justice, and this is the Augur's Gambit, the second story in that collection. But then it was also later printed as separate books by Golance, and so which that's what this one is, and it's pretty cool actually. So this is actually a really full novel-length story by Donaldson, a full fantasy, and I find it amazing how Donaldson can create a fully fleshed out world in such a short time. It's only 180 pages, and he just gives it all to us. This is like a fantasy world that you just learn so much about in such a short time, and has some really strong characters. It's a first-person narration by this guy called Mayhew Gordian, and he gets himself into a real knot. Funny. Anyway, he is what is called a hieronoma. He reads entrails to try to tell the future, and he does this for a queen, and he's trying to serve his country and his queen, and it's really cool because things of course, there's conflict, events happen, things happen. The way Donaldson weaves these things into the story, he's really second to none. The way he does this stuff, and he always has a really satisfying conclusion, if not like a mind-blowing, not like the Gap Cycle mind-blowing conclusion. That's just totally awesome, but a very satisfying conclusion in all of Donaldson's stories. And so the Augur's Gambit may not have been the strongest of the two novellas in that King's Justice collection. I think the King's Justice story is a little bit better, but sorry. But still, it's holding up. It's held to a high standard because the standard that Donaldson set in all his stories, and so if you look at it by itself, it's just a really good fantasy story. It's short, and it's something you can read very quickly, and it sucks you in. And Donaldson's characters are second to none. His characterization ability, his ability to really get inside the heads of characters and have them be unique, and the reasoning for what they do is all makes sense, even though you might not agree with it. You might not agree what they do, but it makes sense in the context of what the characters are thinking, what they're doing. And like I said, nobody's better at that than Donaldson is. And so, very satisfying story. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think you will too if you enjoy Donaldson's fantastic prose. I mean, the prose is chef's kiss. All right. I got some bad news now. This is my next book, Xenocide by Orson Scott Card. This is the third book in the Ender's series, or what have you. Ender universe, I guess. And I read Ender's Game. I liked it. It was a good book. I read Speaker for the Dead. I loved it. I thought it was a great book. I was very impressed with Speaker for the Dead. I thought it was a notch above Ender's Game, easily. And I had it on my it's on my short list for making my top 10 for the year. It's there's certain books that I know. Okay, I'm gonna note that one. Put it aside, note it. And then we started Xenocide. This is for the Speculative Speculation podcast that we have mostly weekly. And so with my friends Chris and Varsha. So we finished this one nicely. When this book started, it was like, okay, yeah, we're back in this world, back in this universe. We introduced a new character, a new world within the universe, and that's cool, And then, as it went on, we started seeing things that just weren't making sense. The characters were not growing. They were like these 40-year-olds who were children in the previous book were still acting exactly the same as they did as children in the previous book. And we're like, geez, didn't they grow up a little? It's been 20, 30 years. But no, they didn't. Ender himself seems to have regressed. This all-wise, this really intelligent kid for the first book, and then this all-wise mentor-like figure from the second book, who seemed to be able to see into people's, seemed to be able to read people well and diffuse situations and diplomatize. And then all of a sudden in this book, he's really making bad decisions. and it's opposites of who we came to know as Ender. The ending of this book is absolutely horrible. I can't even try to rationalize why Card would do this to his universe. Why would he do this to his creation? He had such a good thing going, and he ruined it with Deus Ex Machina, magic. Like, just imagine it, and it will happen. This is a science fiction book, and believe me, I am big on saying most science fiction is just fantasy in disguise. I usually find that in most science fiction. I find that a lot, and you know, everything's fantasy. That's my saying, right? But when you break the bounds of believability within the rules that you've already set for your own universe, that's not fantasy. That's fantasizing, I guess. You know, there's a difference. It's not. It just, you know, it just wasn't good. It wasn't logical. There's, you know, I would have to, you know, just sit down and think about an essay in order to really put into words what Card did that broke the tenets of writing that gives respect to the reader about what you're trying to do with your world, that breaks the immersion that we had with this universe, that yeah, it was just so disruptive and poorly done, and it was an insult to the characters that he developed in the previous book and at the beginning of this book. How they were treated at the end of this book, as if they were all insignificant and everything they went through didn't matter, because we can just imagine stuff and it'll happen. And how that comes about, you know, I'm trying to do this non-spoilery, but I was very disappointed in this book. And the more I think about it, like at first I was just a little shell-shocked. And I was like, oh, did I read that right? Yeah. But then we had a discussion on it on Speculative Speculation, and more things came out that didn't make sense. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is really bad. Really bad. Like, you know, I just, anyway, I'm flustered, I'm aggravated, and we're starting the fourth book, and I'm kind of dreading it. But, you know, these are the beatings we take when we, anyways. Xenocide, do not recommend reading that book. Stop after Speaker for the Dead. Just read the first two, and that's it. All right. Anywho, let's get rid of that bad news, and let's get on to some really good news. The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Bakker, the first book in the Prince of Nothing trilogy and the whole Second Apocalypse series. Fantastic. Just fantastic. Bakker's prose was beautiful to read. His exploration of themes of, as you can see, I mocked the heck out of this book, are just unbelievable. It's interesting because I wanted to, you know, I was expecting to have that sort of Erickson feeling with reading this book. Erickson's on the back, or on the front here, recommending it. And I kind of got that a little bit with the setting and the history and the build-up of you know, the politics and the different factions and stuff, and you know, and all that. But Bakker has a much tighter character list, so you're not getting lost with that kind of keeping track of things. He really keeps it tight and doesn't stray too much. I know that the prologue in here probably has the most, vague references to things that are coming or things that happened in the past that might relate to what the events later on entail. But and that's fine. That's great, actually. And so I really enjoyed my time with this. If you don't know, I've done a full blog on my channel about each part in this book. There's 5 parts in a prologue, so there was 6 different vlogs I did, reading vlogs that detailed my journey through this book. So I have those on my channel. Go check those out if you've read this book, because those are full of spoilers. But that just shows you the depth of this book, that I was willing to do that with it. And I knew as soon as I read the prologue that this was something that I wanted to delve deeper into. I wanted to have a good hard look at it. And I was also warned a lot about the content in this book, but this first book didn't really have that yet. I know it's coming, so that's fine. But it still had some bad stuff that happens to people. But that's epic dark fantasy for you. The But the characterization, the Acamian Drusus Acamian is a great character, and I really liked how that was explored. How the magic factions worked in this world. I like that. I like how it's looked upon. I like how it's feared but wanting to be used at the same time. And I like that the historical setting of this emperor, who has this power. He has the power of servants and slaves and all that stuff. And he but yet he's shown to be ultimately just a human with his tantrums and his decisions and his the way he works through things just like everybody else. But then there's also some characters in here. We were introduced to this character called Kellis, who is this monk-like warrior dude who, he's something special. And you get the reasonings why, and you see his history and stuff like that. So everything that gets introduced in here is introduced for a reason. And this book is really a huge setup for the trilogy. The whole book is. There's quite a few significant events in here, but it seems like they're all these small potato events compared to what's coming. The buildup of something huge about to happen is what this book is about. This book is the darkness that comes before, I guess. Before what? I don't know yet, but it's it's a good title because it really represents something. And I enjoy my time with this book immensely. And like I said, if you've read it, watch my vlog. And I am looking forward to the next one. I don't know when I'm going to get to it yet, but the darkness becomes Oscar Bakker, the Prince of Nothing trilogy. If you have trepidation about getting to this book, I say just try it out, because the prose alone is worth it. It's very well done, very well written, and he belongs up there, I think, so far, in that tier, that top tier of prose, the Donaldson and Erickson and the Wirtz and Alan Moore, and that level of prose. Yeah, this guy's got it. You can just tell. And I'm looking forward to the next book when I get to it. So the Doctor Said Come Before, huge thumbs up, and I recommend it highly. So that's all for my reviews today. So I hope you got what you needed out of that. And as I always say, be good to each other. And thank you for watching.